welcome back to the Buddha's Boys YouTube channel. It's your boy Eustufius playing the Vietnamese against the allegedly still broken Khitans. This is actually my third time ever playing against the Khitans. I lost my previous two, the second game of which was with the Vietnamese, just as this game. So let's see if I'm going to have more luck this time. Third time's the charm, eh? So the Khitans, upon release, were apparently, if we are to believe the pros, were the most broken civ ever in this game. They've recently been nerfed, primarily their postures and the food generation ability that they have. Have they been nerfed enough? I honestly don't know. I've seen some mixed feelings from people. The most common opinion that I've seen is that they're still very strong, like top 5, maybe top 10 civ, which is still great. Some people feel that they need a bigger nerf, some feel that the nerf was enough. I honestly don't know. This is the first time I'm playing against them after the nerf. So playing as the Vietnamese, luckily I think I have one of the better civs to face the Khitans. I think you need a good archer civ against civilizations like the Khitans. Most of these civs that are cavalry archers slash just regular melee cavalry focused, the Khitans being one of them. One of the better ways that you can counter them is just having good archers and also adding halberdiers if need be. With the Vietnamese, so I failed the deer push, great work by me. With the Vietnamese, my archery range units, crossbows and primarily the crossbows and the skirmishers will have more HP, so they're gonna have a better time at dealing with the opponent's CA and melee cavalry as well, particularly against the Khitans who lack the bloodlines, so they are more of a glass cannon kind of civ. They're really like all in, super aggressive, but their units are not durable. So their army primarily revolves around cavalry units, and missing bloodlines is a big deal, especially as the game progresses. So I was thinking, like, well, out of all the civs that I could have played, I would say that the Vietnamese were towards the top end of the best civs that have the ability to counter the Khitans. Another civ that comes to mind would be the Italians, because they have more durable archers with the additional 1 melee and 1 pierce armor, but I'm not gonna complain with the Vietnamese. Pushing in the deer, surprisingly, not chicken Arabia. So pushing the deer, using them as much as possible, and I had a pretty nice base in this game. I had back gold, back woodline, the main woodline, another woodline that's kind of towards the back, front berries, which I'm not really too concerned. At the end of the day, they're berries, right? They're the least important food source, unless you're the Franks or the Portuguese and you have some kind of bonus. But I really just wanted to wall up. Having a back woodline and back gold really incentivized me to go for archers, on top of the fact that I'm Vietnamese, and archers are I think one of the better ways, maybe even the best way to counter the Khitans. So I really wanted to, in this case, I wanted to create a small and compact base where I can use my back resources just to mass archers to make sure that I don't get overwhelmed in the mid game. That was the plan. I had actually plans to make the base even smaller than what it ended up being. So I ended up being a bit more greedy than I initially planned, but let's see if it pays out. So I pushed 2 elephants, or lured 2 elephants. I think I pushed all 3 deer. Second lumber camp, and now my scout, he has no business being at home, so I just sent him to scout the opponent. Luckily I'm the Vietnamese, so I can see the starting TC, the enemy's starting TC. I noticed the barracks and I thought, maybe a Drush? For a moment I was like, oh, okay, the Drush wouldn't be outside of the realm of possibility. I did make a mistake by attacking the villager. He has loom, there was really no need. I could have killed him 1v1, but then that would have left my scout with too little HP, which isn't ideal. I want my scout to stay alive as long as possible, so that he can do his primary role, which is scout. Here, I was very pleasantly surprised that I ended up being first to feudal age. I expected him to have more of a Mongol type strategy where he would up quicker. That's why I sent my scout all the way back. In case I was expecting him to come to feudal quicker than me, at which point his scout would just beat mine on top of my scout already being injured. But when I realized that I was gonna be quicker than him, I just decided to attack him, which ended up being a good decision on my end. I sent a spear forward, which I would say is probably a mistake on my end. Not a big mistake, but I was like, I'm facing the Khitans. His scout would have won the battle against my scout had I not reached feudal before him. So I kind of instinctively sent a spear forward to intercept his scout, which ended up not being needed. But I was confused when I saw the archery range. I was expecting a stable and scouts, so that's why I was like, okay, a spearman will work just fine. While at home, I really had the plan of just going for archers. And I started walling up. Initially, I wanted to wall to the TC, but I ended up walling to this wood line as well, which isn't necessarily bad. It's just I changed midway. So I sent my spear and my scout on opposite ends to scout his base, while I slowly gathered a bit of an army of archers. I was confused by the archery range. Hindsight, I guess he just wanted to be... Maybe she just wanted to be more passive and feudal, knowing I'm Vietnamese and that I favor archers. Maybe he just wanted to get skirmishers for defense, survive feudal, and then be aggressive in castle age, which is fair enough. No issues there if you ask me. Though him being Khitans, I would have expected him to be more on the aggressive side and me being more on the defensive side, but what he did is not necessarily bad. It's just how he chose to play. He chose to play more passive. Fair enough to him. So I killed the spear and I move on. Perhaps I should have expected this, and maybe hindsight now I should have added my own stable. I saw the archery range, I saw the flag on the archery range, now I saw skirmishers. That confirmed to me he's going defense, he's going skirmishers to defend against my archers. Lucky kill there for me. I could have, perhaps should have added a stable to counter the skirmishers, but I was more... like I said, I'm not sure how nerfed the Khitans are now. As far as I heard, their pastures are still great, not as good as when they were initially introduced, when they were blatantly broken. But I was still under the impression, oh well, he's going to reach Castle Age before me. If I invent it to scouts, that's just going to delay my Castle Age, because you need food for scouts and you need a lot of food for Castle Age. And then on top of that, he might... I expected him to reach castle before me due to my switch into scouts, and then my scouts don't really scale that well into the game. They kind of lose their value as the game progresses. I can upload him to light cavalry, but he just has better options in Castle Age. My scout / light cavalry will get outclassed by his cavalry melee units, so I didn't want to do that. I just decided, okay, he's still Khitans. I still expect him to go for cavalry. Let's just mass archers. I was adding a second archery range. I was very surprised at the number of skirmishers. Then I remembered the Khitans, one of their bonuses is that the trash units are created faster. But yeah, I did not expect 10 skirmishers. He really wanted to, I don't know, maybe he was really afraid of my archers. Maybe he expected me to be more aggressive with the archers. But I just sent my archers outside when I realized he was not going to follow me. I couldn't send them back in the base without destroying parts of my base, at least the palisade walls. While at home, I decided to switch into skirms as well. So I was thinking, this was my thought process at the time. So I'm going archers, he's going to skirms. I didn't know that I was going to reach Castle Age before him. If I go for crossbows, he goes for heavy, no, not heavy, but elite skirmishers. He beats my crossbows. I'm Vietnamese, I can just match the crossbows. Sorry, match the skirmishers. My skirmishers have more HP. I'll just beat him with extra HP, right? That part is easy enough. The problem is, if I overinvest, I was thinking if I overinvest into skirmishers, he has other options in Castle Age, primarily the cavalry, the melee cavalry that he has, that's just going to eat my skirmishers. So I decided to essentially cosplay as the AI and go for one stable producing skirmishers, the other stable going for crossbows. So I would have a mixture of everything. I would have skirmishers with higher HP to deal with his skirmishers, and crossbows to deal with his step lancers. I was expecting him to go for step lancer still. He is Khitans at the end of the day. I did my second TC in a nice position between the main wood line and the main gold. And I was really waiting for this villager to chop this final forage bush so that I would have a clear path through which I can enter and exit my base. I didn't want to destroy any walls or anything like that. I was just trying to mass numbers to the point where I would feel comfortable enough moving outside. As for the rest, I was really trying to keep my base as neat and tidy as possible. That way it's easy to defend, plus as the Khitans are expecting him to be fully aggressive with some kind of cavalry. The second game I ever played with the Khitans, I was also Vietnamese and I lost. I fared better than in my first game, which was also a loss, but I lost. The game turned around once the opponent introduced rocket carts into the mix. So I had success with my crossbows dealing with his step lancers, primarily because the step lancers lack, his melee cavalry lacks bloodlines, so they die quicker. But when he added rocket carts, I was very late to adding mangonels, and that cost me dearly. That was probably the turning point in the game. So this time, I was thinking, okay, he has skirmishers. I don't have as many skirmishers as him, so I can't really force an engagement. And I don't want to fully commit to skirmishers and completely forget about crossbows because I'm expecting cavalry. So in a bit, you'll see me get a siege workshop just to get the mangonel so I can deal with his skirmishers. Now I see that they're elite. They get upgrades, and anytime now I should be getting siege workshop. Okay, here we go. My scout, I just sent him. I think I probably auto scout sent him, and yeah, unlucky. So I'm still expecting him, regardless of the number of skirmishes he has. I know he has a good food eco. I'm still thinking, okay, he can still switch into something else, primarily cavalry, and he can also add the rocket cart. And with the rocket cart, you kind of have 3 ways of dealing with it. Technically 4 if you can micro your range units properly, especially your crossbows, which I cannot, so that leaves me with 3 options. I can go cavalry, which I don't really want to with the Vietnamese. They don't scale well into Imperial Age, so you want to avoid them or avoid over investing into them in Castle Age. There's also the option with monks and redemption. Vietnamese don't get redemption, which means I only have one other option, which is the mangonel. So the mangonel is my kind of only realistic counter to the rocket cart, which is exactly the mangonel being exactly what I need against the skirmishers currently. So that was a good choice of a unit. I sent one random crossbowman here on the defensive stance or no attack stance, so he can just harass this wood line and be annoying. But thanks to him, I uncovered he had a third TC. So I was like, okay, I got to castle first, and only got one TC. I don't want him to outboo me now. I think I got a decent advantage with just reaching Castle Age quicker than him. No need to waste that advantage. So I saw light cavalry. I had to say, I was not expecting light cavalry. I was expecting some melee cavalry, primarily the steppe lancers. So not sure why he went for light cavalry. Maybe he just had a good food eco boom with the pastures, so he could have spent it on the light cavalry. But this is why I had crossbows, and I'm continually producing crossbows and skirmishers. Skirmishers for against his skirmishers, and crossbows against any cavalry that he might have. And both in case he goes for CA. Yeah, nice work by me there, I hit my own unit. And I unfortunately leave my mangonel not guarded. The camel was, I assume, a misclick. Here I thought, well, this could be bad, but luckily for me, reinforcements were on the way. Forward siege workshop, which is not something I do. This is quite rare for me to do this. So I realized here that I really need ballistics to deal with the cavalry. He really killed most of my army there, which is unfortunate. But thankfully I have a third TC, so I matched them in the third TC department. I'm getting the university. I want ballistics. I'm fairly happy with the push. I know it's nothing to write home about, but hey, I'm at least, for a change, I'm the one pushing my enemy, siege pushing my enemy, instead of being on the defensive side. So it's a nice feeling to actually be able to do that for once. I sent a villager, because I sent a decent number of villagers on stone in preparation for a castle, so I sent one villager to build outposts on this side. I think I might have, no, I think I forgot about it. This side is being covered by the army, so I was like, okay, maybe no need for outposts here. He has, I think, only 2 stables, and he's producing knights quickly. This is the Khitan bonus, where the trash units get produced, I think, 20% quicker or something like that. Thanks to these outposts, I saw these villagers, so I immediately knew this was a castle, right? I thought he wanted to, maybe he felt, in my head, I was thinking maybe he thinks he's far behind in the game and he needs to castle drop me. Looking now, it turns out he wanted his castle to be in the middle of the map to protect his front base and the neutral resources, which is completely fine. I wanted to intercept him to kill the villagers. That would have been good. Could have stayed longer here to kill this, but yeah, I guess I was paying attention somewhere else. So he built the defensive castle, which is better than him putting it on top of my face. I also sent all those villagers from stone to castle drop. I wanted initially to castle drop this area, but when I saw his castle, I was like, yeah, no, let's not do it. Let's just be a bit greedy and optimistic with this castle, Because I was thinking if I put it here, he might be quicker to Imperial Age, which I did not know at the time. He still surprised me how quick to Imp he clicked, but I guess it came at the risk of villager numbers. Yeah, let's not look at this. This time I finally got the market so I can rebalance my eco, and I essentially sold food to get gold so I can click to Imperial. At the time, I was thinking I'm gonna need halves eventually, right? He's going to switch into some kind of form melee cavalry that isn't just light cavalry with 2 stables. So I had plans on going halberdiers. At the end of the day, I'm playing the Khitans. Archers plus halberdiers is, I would say, the best combo you can have against civs like that. And all of the civs that are similar to them. This castle ended up... It could have been worse, but yeah, it forced him to delete, what, 5 pastures, and it's surprisingly in range of a TC. I was not privy enough to notice that he was stonewalling this. I could have prevented that, but yeah, the one villager is still building outposts. Oh, actually I did build outposts on the right side. And I'm sending some crossbowmen. Just one for now, but I think a few of them will come this way as well. Just to be annoying, I was... yeah, he reached Imperial. I was very surprised and impressed by the fact that he reached Imperial, but looking at the game now, it does make sense that he sacrificed his eco in order to reach Imperial faster. I started building a barracks, going for pikemen. I expected that I was going to need pikemen eventually, going into archers pikemen, but he did surrender, thankfully, or thankfully for me anyway. So this was my first win against the Khitans, after failing the first 2. As for dealing with the Khitans in general, I know this was only one game and one win doesn't prove anything, but I would still say that going for archers, and preferably a civilization that has some kind of bonus for archers, whether it be faster firing Ethiopians, more HP on the Vietnamese, or additional armor on the Italians, I think is probably the best way of surviving mid-game. Because mid-game, if the Khitans get rolling, they're one of these civs similar to like the Mongols or Georgians, in my opinion, that once they get rolling, the ball rolling, it's very hard to stop them. So being defensive, maybe making a compact base where you protect your wood line and gold if possible, depending on the base, and just going for maybe a defensive approach with archers, and depending on the civ that you have, probably your worst enemy, once you get enough archer mass to the point where you can defend against his melee cavalry, your worst enemy is probably going to be the rocket cart. And again, depending on which civ you're playing, in this case the Vietnamese, the mangonel would be your best option to dealing with the rocket cart. Preferably before the rocket cart kills all your crossbowmen, which leaves the opponent's cavalry free to do whatever it wants in your base. So that would be it for this video. Thank you for watching. Leave any comments, suggestions, questions, or anything of the sort, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Bye.